Om Namo Narayanaaya. Om Namo Narayanaaya.
श्रीशैलेश दयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवं यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवं यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिं यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः. We continue with the exposition of the sutras. Matupale iruvarishetyum nityam engirade ivalode kodiye vastuvinude tanmai. So two important, this is sutra number 15th and 16th. As I explained earlier, this is Sriman Narayana, that Sriman is called as the suffix called Matu. And the suffix is used in several senses. In this context, it is used, it is mentioned as Nitya Yoge Matu. Nitya Yoge Matu means the mutual relatedness of Goddess Shri or Lakshmi and Lord Narayana is eternal. It has no beginning or end, and therefore it is known as Nitya Yoga. And he further stresses this point in Sutra number 16, and he says, Ivalode Kudiye Vastu Vinude Tanmai. The entity that the Supreme Lord Narayana is, exists, can exist only when it is combined with Goddess Lakshmi. So without the combination of Goddess Lakshmi, Lord Narayana cannot exist. So even if you so when we see Lord Narayana as an entity, so when we call it as Param Brahma or Parabrahma, it is the word used in Sanskrit to denote the Supreme Lord. It is in neuter gender. The word Brahma or Param Brahma is in neuter gender because it is also an entity. If you want to see it as a human being, we can see it as a human being. Because Vishnu Sarvatmaka. That's what is mentioned in the Shastras. So you can mention it as an object, you can mention it as a human being, you can mention it as, or you can see it as a demigod, you can see it as a supreme Lord. So the tattva or the reality that is called Narayana, Lord Narayana, is always associated with Goddess Lakshmi. Nobody can even imagine a state where the Lord is devoid of Goddess Lakshmi. So this is very important. And this is commented upon by he says, Aha Swarupanubandhitva Prayuktamana Nitya Yogattai Arudichaidaraiti. So Swarupa Anubandhi means its very nature is that it is eternally associated with the Supreme Goddess Mahalakshmi. So this is well established in the further aspects because further sutras also, and in this context further the Purushakaratva is also very beautifully explained in the next sutra. Ishvara swatantriyatayum Chetananude aparadhattayum kand ahalamattan. This is the original sutra. This is commented upon as follows. Ini ivaluடைய குணப்பிரயுக்தமான நித்தியோகத்தை அருளிச் செய்கிறார் ஈஸ்வர சுவாதந்திரத்தையும் என்று தொடங்கி, அதாவது அபராதங்களை பத்தும் பத்தாக கணக்கிட்டு நிறுத்தறுத்து தீர்க்கும் ஈஸ்வர சுவாதந்திரத்தையும் பிரம்ம கல்பனியதானுபவேப்யநாசியம் இத்தியாதிப்படியே காலதத்துவம் உள்ளதனையும் அனுபவியானின்னாலும் சிறு துவரேட்டு கடத்தவல்லாதபடி பண்ணி வைத்த இச்சேதனனுடைய அகிருத்தியகரணாத்யபராதத்தையும் கண்டு என்னாக உக்குகிறதோ என்னும் பயத்தாலே ஈஸ்வரனை விட்டு ஒரு க்ஷணக்காலமும் அகலமாட்டாள் என்கை. இத்தால் சேதனனுக்கு பலிக்கும் மத்தை அருளிச் செய்கிறார். சேதனனுக்கு இவை இரண்டும் நினைத்தஞ்ச வேண்டா. So here Swami Manavana Mamani quotes a very important shloka or verse from Sri Vaikunthastava of Korattalvan, who was the direct disciple of Ramanujacharya. So what does Korattalvan say in this shloka? He says, Yad brahma kalpa niyata anubhavepyanashyam tatkil visham srijati janturiha kshanardhe evam sada sakala janmasu saparadham kshamyasi aho tadabhisandhi virama matrati. The question here is asked in a very, not in the logical sense, but in an emotional sense. Logically also, when you analyze it from the logical point of view also, Goddess Lakshmi is eternally associated with Lord Narayana. That's a different thing. For the time being, let us forget about it. From an emotional point of view, a question is asked as to why is Goddess Lakshmi always associated with Lord Narayana? Can't she give him some free space, as they call it nowadays? So when, suppose I want to be separate from my family or from some persons who are always staying with me, so I may say, please give me my space. I want to stay separately for few hours or few days. So this is how people say, people want to have some own space. Please leave me alone now. I don't want to have any association with anybody for a few minutes or few hours or something like that. So why will Goddess Lakshmi not allow Lord Narayana his free space? I am talking in an emotional sense, kindly note. So then this shloka gives the answer to that question. Yad Brahma Kalpa Niyata Anubhavepi Anasham. Brahma Kalpa means, I can explain it in very great detail. I will not go into that much detail. So we all know that this Kali Yuga, according to the scriptures, and I am sure Keshav Ji knows this very well, as it is mentioned in Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc., where the number of years is very specifically enumerated. So I think that 32,000 years is Krita, so what is that? The Kali Yuga, the present Kali Yuga. It is in the human units. Then double that is Dwapara Yuga, so 64,000. Double that is Treta Yuga, and double that is Krita Yuga. So one Chatur Yuga comes to somewhere around 400,000 years up to 300,000 years, whatever it is. Because many times I keep telling in my discourses, after some 100 years, you can get some idea of what it is, or you can form an idea in your mind. After that, 10,000 years or 100,000 years doesn't make any difference. It is mere numbers only, because human mind is not capable of assessing or even gauging that time frame. So you say 50 million years ago the earth was formed or something like that. What does that mean? It is a mere number. That's. But when you see, when you really actually think about the concept of time, it is really mind-boggling. That is why we say time is nothing but God himself. Because it is, one can never really gauge the, what is that, the depth of time, depth of the concept of time. So one Chaturyuga is something, somewhere, let us say around 300,000 years. This is one day for Chaturmukha Brahma. Then one night is another Chaturyuga. Like this, you have this Chaturyuga will become then, this is what we say in the Sankalpa, which I am sure all of you know very well. That is what we say, Shvetavaraha Kalpe, Vaivaswata Manvantare Kali Yuge. So Manvantarantu Divyanam Yuganam Ekasapati. So this 300,000 odd years is one day according to Brahma's, in the unit of Brahma's time. So like this, you divide it into so many 300,000 years. So how much will it become? It will grow exponentially. That is like that 71 Divya Yugas will be one Manvantara. Manvantarantu Divyanam Yugana. So you can add one followed by several, some 40, 45 zeros. Then several kalpas constitute one, several Manvantaras constitute one kalpa. Then several kalpas add up to one half day of, half of the lifetime of Brahma, which is the Dvitiya Para, we call it as Parardha. So in Sanskrit we say Ekatvadi Parardha Pariyanta. Parardha is the maximum that can be counted by a human being. But once again, it is only a matter of numbers. I think it is one followed by 60 or 70 zeros or whatever it is. So this is one Brahma Kalpa. So yet Brahma Kalpa Niyata Anubhavepi Anashyam. Tat Kilbisham Srijati Janturiha Kshanardha. This human being will acquire enough karmas in half a moment that can never be done away with, even after enjoying the fruits of all the karmas for one Brahma Kalpa. That is even for several millions or billions or trillions of years. So there is no chance of this Jivatma or individual soul attaining redemption at all. That is the problem. This is the general rule. That is why the beings are born, they die, they are born, they die, they are born. So my revered father used to give an example. So suppose there is a huge line of ants going on. So when we see in the road or in our houses, many times there are ants. So several hundreds of ants or several millions, even thousands of ants, all small rodents. So suppose they die, or suppose they some ant is born, some ant dies. So many ants, when we stamp over them unknowingly, 100 or 200 ants die. But do we worry about that? Nobody is concerned about it. So suppose assuming that this human being, the Paramatma is like that human being, and there are several billions of ants. Will Paramatma really, will the Supreme Lord really worry about some small ant dying somewhere? In reality, he worries because of the presence of Goddess Lakshmi. So that is the greatness of the Supreme Lord, that he says he is present in each and every one of us. Though we are there in billions and trillions, he is present in each and every one of us, and he takes care of us because of the recommendation or the good words of Goddess Mahalakshmi. So that is why he says, Yad Brahma Tatkil Visham Kshane Srijati Janturiya. So this Jivatma, acquires enough karma in half a moment that can never be done away with, even after enjoying the fruits of the karmas for several millions or billions of years. This karma theory is a very, very, very complicated, most complicated theory. But at the same time, it's a highly logical theory, but this logic is beyond our conception. So how is it that the karma gets recorded within us? So in our younger days, our elders used to say, whatever you do, there is a person called Chitragupta. He will record all those things. Then one day, a great guru, knowledgeable soul, asked me, have you heard about this saying in the traditional homes that Chitragupta will write all the things, he will record all the good things and bad things that you have done? And yes, I heard that, but I don't know what it really means. Then he said it is nothing but, Chitragupta is nothing but Gupta Chitra. Gupta Chitra means a secret document in the literal sense. That means, my guru used to say, what we call as the psyche, which exists within us, which is carried along with this Atma to the next body also. Everything is recorded in the brain. And my guru used to say there is a portion in the brain, physical portion in the brain, which acts like a software, where the history of this entire Jivatma is recorded in that part of the brain, which is carried over to the subsequent Janmas. So it is true with each of us. It's not exclusive to me or any one XYZ. So from the moment that this Jivatma became separate from the Paramatma or the Supreme Lord, until now, how many births I have taken or you have taken, Keshadas, any XYZ, all the entire history is recorded here. And it is carried forward, and that dictates the events of the future, of our future births, of each of the events that take in our future births. Can anybody imagine? Then the question is raised. How can now I perform some karma and later in due course I give up this body? How does that karma come to me on? A very beautiful example is given. Yatha dhenu sahasreshu vatso vindati matara. So in India, and I'm sure they same in the ranches in US and other places. But I don't know whether it is happening though in US or not. But in India, there in a Goshala, in a cow shed, there will be 10,000 cows. And if there are 10,000 cows, about every day there will be some 200 or 300 cows are born. So the cows are first, they will be, in India, traditionally they would not separate the cows from the cows because it is said to be a great sin. Whereas in the West, they do it, the moment the calf is born, they separate it from the cow. And in India also, this sinful practice is being practiced nowadays by even traditional farmers, which is a great, great, great sin. But afterwards, all the cows are left to graze in a grazing land, in the grassland. Then the cows are also, after some time, they are let out. So even if there are 10,000 cows, the particular calf will go and it will find its mother exactly among those 10,000 cows. How is it possible? It is possible. That is nature. Similarly, my karma, that whatever good or bad deeds I have done, it will come to me only, come with me only. That karma will follow me wherever I go. I cannot escape it. So that's why he says, Evam sada sakala janmasu saparadham kshamyasya ho tadabhisandhi virama matra. When our when the karmas we have acquired is like a mountain, a Himalayan mountain or whatever it is, a huge mountain. These sins are pardoned by you purely because of the coexistence of Goddess Lakshmi. Lakshmiya saha shlokam purvameva likhitam Srimad Ramayana Aranyakande satam nipatitam bhumo sharanya sharanat vadharamapi kakustha kripaya paryapadayati. And this is illustrated by a very beautiful example, which says, Ival sannidhyane kakam talaipettade adillamayane ravanan mudindan, which is the 20th sutra. So I will explain that and then I will come back to the commentary portion. So here a very important anecdote, or not anecdote, event rather, from the Ramayana is quoted. So it is mentioned that Kakasura, or the son of Indra, though it has to be noted that though he is the son of Indra, he came in the guise of a crow. And though he is the son of a demigod, he is known by the word Asura or Kakasura, because of the Asuri Sampat, or the demonic instinct that prevailed within him. So how can Indra's son, Indra is the premier most demigod, he is the king of the gods. How can his son be named as an Asura or called as an Asura? The answer is, since his instincts were utterly demonic or extremely demonic, he was called as Kaka Asura, or the Kaka demon, the crow demon. So what did he do? He actually, though it's a very crude way of putting things, he tried to attack the breasts of the goddess of Mother Sita. Ravana never tried to physically abuse Sita. He only actually took her and he forced her and he put her in the Ashokavana, or he imprisoned her. He never tried to physically abuse her, because that question is raised in the Yuddha Kanda in the 13th Sarga, where one of his generals asked him, why don't you force Sita to be with you? Then Ravana says, if I do that, even if I try to physically go near her, I will be blown into pieces because of a curse that I had, because I had actually forced Ramba, and because of that, I became the recipient of a curse of Lord Brahma, that if I touch a woman with this intention of abusing her physically or physically getting close to her with some bad intention, that I will be blown to pieces. So I cannot go near Sita with that intention. So Ravana never physically abused Sita. So he employed all the possible ways and means to lure her. Whereas Kakasura, being the son of Indra, he actually physically abused. Even then, his life was spared, because Ival sannidhyane kakam talaipettade. So Sita is none other than Goddess Lakshmi, and she is compassion incarnate. That is why she is known as Daya, Kripa, etc. That is, she herself is compassion. She herself is the is personification of compassion. So even though she was severely abused, she said, don't kill him, you leave him. So satam nipatitam bhumo sharanya sharanagatam vadharhamapi kakustha kripaya paryapadayati. When he roamed all the three worlds, and he could not actually, the story goes like this, I think you are familiar with the story. So once Rama was resting on the lap of Sita. At that time, the Kakasura actually came and abused her, and he severely abused her. And she started bleeding. And that blood actually went and touched Rama. And because of the liquid touching her, actually, he woke up. And he said, who is this who has abused you, who has harmed you severely? Then immediately she showed, this Kakasura is the one who has done that. So immediately what did Rama do? Sadarbham samstara grihya brahmastrena hyayojayati. Immediately, instinctively, what did Rama do? He plucked a darbha grass from the floor where he was sleeping. They were sleeping in the forest, of course. And he immediately hit the Brahmastra Abhimantra. So Brahmastra is nowadays, for us to easily understand, Astra is software, Shastra is hardware. So Astra needs a medium. So it can be even a blade of grass. It need not be a arrow only. Arrow, of course, arrow can also be used as a Brahmastra. Even a blade of grass can be used as a Brahmastra. So he plucked the blade of grass, and in that only he did the Abhimantrana. He invoked the Brahmastra in that, and he released it. So it is said, Sapitraja Parityaktaha Suraishcha Samaharshiphi Trin Lokan Samparikramya Trataram Nadhikachati. He roamed all the three worlds. Neither Brahma nor Shiva nor Indra could protect him. Who can protect a person who is actually afflicted by the Brahmastra that is released by Rama? So even they will have to lose their lives. So ultimately he came and fell at the feet of Rama only. So Rama could have easily have killed him, but since he did Sharanagati, and more importantly, since Sita was present at that moment there, he said, don't kill him, leave him. Then Rama said, but now already the Brahmastra has been invoked and it cannot go away, so what should I do? So he said, then let my right eye be pierced by the Brahmastra. That is why even today it is said that the crows have only one eye. So it is known as Kakakshi Nyaya in Sanskrit. Only one eye, when it comes to this, when it sees this side, it will work. When it sees this side, though physically two eyes are there, only one eye will work at a time. That's what is mentioned in the Puranas or in the traditional texts. So though Ravana didn't physically abuse Sita, he was killed because of Sita not being present at that time there. Whereas though Kakasura had committed a more heinous crime than Ravana, he was pardoned because of the presence of Sita. So this is what the physical presence or the eternal presence of Goddess Mahalakshmi does as far as we Jivatmas are concerned. So that's what it says, Adil Ival Sannidhyare Kakam Tarepyakkari. The Kakasura was protected because of the presence of Sita on that spot. Adillamayale Ravana. Since Sita was not physically present, otherwise she would have told, let him get lost, you just leave him, or you pardon him. But since Sita was not present on the spot, Ravana had to be killed. So that is what is mentioned in the 20th Sutra. So ultimately what it says here is, Ippadi Purushakaropaya Vastukalinudia Nitya Yogattai Pratipadikira Vimatuppari Vishayattai Ashraikkail Ruchiye Venduvathu Irandu Thalayum Koodi Irukkum Dashaile Ashraikka Venume Endru Ashrayanatthukku Kalam Paarthirukka Venda Vendai. So many a times what happens? Suppose we want to approach a very angry person. for some work, for some personal favor. So there are many people who are very short-tempered, but their short temper does not manifest in certain circumstances. So for example, if that person is with his boss, for example, I am telling, a subordinate or an employee cannot show his anger before his boss, because if the boss fires him, then he may not have a livelihood and he will end up on the streets. So suppose I want to approach a person for some favor who is a highly short-tempered, then what will I will say? I will approach him when he is in the presence of his boss, so that he will not get angry. He may not help me, but he may not get angry. So similarly, should this Jivatma wait to perform Sharanagati to the Supreme Lord and look forward to a time when he will get away with his sins easily? This is the question. The answer is, he need not wait for any time. He can immediately, the moment that he feels that he should perform Sharanagati, he can perform Sharanagati. Because Goddess Lakshmi is eternally associated with Lord Narayana. So there is not even one moment when she is not associated with him. Since she is eternally associated with him, any time of the day, any time of the night, even in the dead of midnight, as they say in English, he can approach the Supreme Lord and let him know of his Sharanagati. That is why this Nitya Yoga is being stressed here. It is very beautifully explained by Swami Manovarama. இனி இவள் புருஷகாரத்தின் அவசியாபேட்சிதத்தை அறிவிக்கைக்காக இவள் சந்நிதிக்கும் அசந்நிதிக்கும் உண்டான வாசியை அருளி செய்கிறார். இவள் சந்நிதியாலே என்ன தொடங்கி, அதாவது தேவ்யா காருண்ய ரூபயா என்கிறபடியே கிருபைதா ஒருபடி ஒரு வடிவு கொண்டா போலே இருப்பாளாய். சுதந்திரமான ஈஸ்வரனுக்கும் சுவாதந்திரத்தை முக்கிய கிருபை கிளப்பும் அவளான அளவில் சந்நிதியாலே அபராதத்தை தீர்க்கழியச் செய்து பிரம்மாஸ்திரத்துக்கு கிழக்காய் தலையறு பண்ணத்தேடின காக்கும் கிருபையா பரியபாலயது என்கிற கிருபா விஷயமாய் தலை பெற்று போய்த்து. அப்படி இருக்கிற இவள் சந்நிதி இல்லாமையாலே போக்கரி செயல் மாண்டு நின்ன நிலைத்திருக்கச் செய்தேயும் காக்கத்தோபாதி அபராதமும் இன்னிக்கே இருக்க ராமசரத்து கிழக்காய் ராவணன் முடிந்து போனான் என்கை. ஆகையால் ஆசிரிப்பாருக்கு இவள் சந்நிதியே வேண்டும் என்று கருத்து. ஆஹா, ஸ்ரீமத் பதார்த்தத்தை அருளிச் செய்தாராய்த்து. அனந்தரம் நாராயண பதார்த்தத்தை அருளிச் செய்கிறார். So until now, I have explained all the details that were just mentioned in the commentary by Swami Manovarama. So ultimately, to sum up, he says, the word Srimad. So we have Sriman Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. 5 components in the Tvaya Mantra. Srimat Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. Srimat means consisting of Sri. So Narayana, Supreme Lord Narayana, whom we know, in a way we know him. We don't know him properly as he is, because we haven't had the vision of the Lord as of now. We means I will tell about myself. I can tell about myself. So Narayana, Charanau is the 2 divine feet. Sharanam Prapadye. I beseech as my, so I surrender as the place to which I surrender. Sharanam Prapadye. Prapadye, I beseech. So I beseech the two divine feet of Lord Narayana, who is eternally associated with Goddess Mahalakshmi. This is the literal meaning of the first component, first portion of the Dayam. The second portion is Srimate Narayana. I bow down to, I salute the Lord Narayana, who is eternally associated. Once again, that is mentioned. So these two sentences are the literal meaning of the Dayam, which is Shriman Narayana Charano Sharanam Prapadye Srimate Narayana. So in the first portion or the first part, which is Shriman Narayana Charano Sharanam Prapadye, Srimati has been explained until now. Hereafter, Swami Pulladokacharya goes on to explain what is Narayana. That we will see now. The 21st Sutra. Purushakara Bharattane Swatantriyam Taleshaindal Talaedekkum Gunangalai Chollu Hirade Narayana Padam Avayavana Vatsalyamam Swamittvamam Saushilyamam Saulabhyamam Jnanamam Shaktiyam. So here the word Narayana is interpreted in a different way. So we should very importantly recall the meaning of the word Narayana that was given in the Tirumantra Prakara. So there it was Narayana Mayanam. Naraha Ayanam Yasya, and Nara, the big list of objects or entities that are denoted by the word Narayana was given. And Narangalavana Ivatka Ayanaminna Padi. That is one meaning. Then Apo Narayata iti Proktaha Tairasya Ayanam Tasman Narayana Ihochita, etc. We have several interpretations given for the word Narayana in the Tirumantra Prakara. In this context, he gives a totally different perspective about the word Narayana. So both are very important, both are very valid, but it is the way in which we see it that it works. So it works according to how we approach it. So here, what does the word Narayana mean? So the Supreme Lord Narayana is totally independent. He can take any decision he wants without any obligation of any person. He is Sarvashakta. But though he is Sarvashakta, that is, though he is omnipotent, his Swatantriya can be curbed by Goddess Mahalakshmi. Because God himself has allowed himself, once again, Lord Narayana has allowed himself to get his independence curbed by Goddess Lakshmi. For what sake? For the sake of us, the Jivatmas or individual souls. See how beautifully it has been mentioned. So now, for example, this phone is in my hands. I can break it, I can just bang it on the ground and break it. Or I can do whatever with this phone. Of course, my wife may scold me, why have you done it? Why did you break the phone? That's a different thing. But that apart, since I am supposedly I am telling nobody is the owner of anything in this world in reality. Suppose I want to bang it on the floor, nobody will question me. The phone will definitely not question me, why did you bang me on the floor? So I am totally independent to do what I want with regard to this telephone, this instrument. But will I do like that? I will not. Because I give some value, it is a means of communication for me with the outer world. So I will not do it. But though I am independent to do, I am totally independent to do what I can, I will not do it. Because I have a sense of propriety. And I will say it's not correct to break something which is good without any specific reason. So similarly here also, Lord, the Supreme Lord Narayana, though he is entitled to do away with us, give our past or put us in eternal hell, as it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, he will not do like that. Because he himself has made a provision for protecting us by pardoning our sins, based on the recommendation of Goddess Maharashtra. So, several other qualities which exist in him will actually become manifest at the time of he protecting us. That is what is mentioned in this sutra, which says, which are the qualities? Purushakara balattale swatantriyam taleshaindal talaedakkum gunangale cholluhirade narayana padam. See how precisely it has been mentioned by Pulalokacharya. So, due to the Purushakara or the recommendation of Goddess Mahalakshmi, he himself gives up his independence to a certain extent. We have to add that clause to protect us, to facilitate our protection, so that we also transcend the ocean of samsara and attain him. So, which are those qualities? These qualities are mentioned by your Narayana. Avayavana, Vatsalyamam, Swamitramam, Saushilyamam, Saulabhyamam, Jnanamam, Shaktiyam. So, which are those qualities? He mentioned 6 important qualities. Vatsalyamam. So, Vatsalya is one of the most important and primary qualities. What is the meaning of the word Vatsalya? It is mentioned as dosha bhogyatvam. According to Tennacharya Sampradaya. According to Adagalai Sampradaya, it is dosha anadara hetu. So the definition, in the definition, there is a slight difference of opinion. One is enjoying the faults of dosha bhogyatva, means enjoying the faults or follies that are performed or that are associated with the person. Dosha anadara hetu means overlooking them. So you don't enjoy them, you don't consider them, you say, no, let us not worry about that, let us worry about something else. But the word Vatsalya is when you see the etymological derivation of the word Vatsalya, it is mentioned as Vatsa Amsabhyam Kamadare. So when as soon as a cow, I am sure you might have seen it, we have seen it several times. As soon as a cow gives birth to a calf, it is actually the body of the calf after it comes out of the womb of the cow. It's totally unclean, it's totally dirty. But the cow doesn't worry about that at all. It will lick all parts of the calf that has come out of its womb. So though it is so dirty and we feel it's, I don't know if we can, from our point of view, it's nauseating. Though it's so nauseating for us that it is actually licking the entire calf which has come out of the womb. The placenta, it has been in the placenta, several, it is there is some blood, some urine and all those things of the cow itself. So its own blood, it is smeared with its own blood, its own urine, etc. It will not at all worry about it. It will go on licking the calf after it has given birth to it for about 1 hour or 1.5 hours. So even all that dirt that exists on the surface of the body of the calf is actually slurped by the mother cow. So in fact, it doesn't not only does it overlook the dirt or dirtiness that is there on the surface of the body of the calf, it enjoys that dirtiness. That is known as Vatsalya. So similarly, the Supreme Lord has Vatsalya towards us. Us means those who have performed Sharanagati. That is very important. You have to underline it. So he will even not only he will overlook according to this sampradaya, not only will he overlook the mistakes or follies committed by the Jivatma, he will also enjoy those follies. Saying there is I will give a very good example in the Indian context. So when children are young, that is earlier, not now, it's again. So they are made to chant the stotras, the shlokas, etc. when they are 2 or 3 years old. So since the speech box of the children is not fully developed, they will actually tell it in a particular way. There may be several mistakes in the rendering of the shlokas. But when a young boy of 2 or 3 years old chants the shlokas, though it is full of mistakes, then they, oh, very wonderful, wonderful. So though we know that it is having a lot of mistakes, since a young boy who is 2 or 3 years old, young boy or girl, a child, 2 or 3 years old, chants the shlokas of the Lord, we say wonderful. Even the mistakes are not only mistakes are not considered, we say very enjoyable. So that is what. So that is the first guna. Then Swamitvam, Saushilyamam, etc. This will continue in the next class.
Why is there a difference between this point between Deshika Sampradaya and Tenacharya Sampradaya? Because it seems
in which aspect?
This idea of Sabogya Hetuka Kripa, the Lord is
Sorry.
Sabogya Hetuka Kripa.
Sorry, please tell again.
That God enjoying the sins of the world. Why is there a difference? How do the Deshika Sampradaya people see that?
That is with regard to the definition of Vatsalya.
They see it differently.
That is with regard to the concept of Vatsalya, or with regard to what?
Yeah, I guess with the explanation of Vatsalya, or you said that there's a difference. We understood that there's a slight difference between the Kalais, between Varagalai.
Yeah, that is with regard to the definition of Vatsalya.
So what is their definition, and what is the contrast?
Yeah, that is why I said we define Tenacharya Sampradaya defines it as Vatsalya is dosha bhogyatva. That is enjoying the faults or follies as if they are good qualities. That is dosha bhogyatva. The Vadagalai Sampradaya actually interprets as dosha anadara hetu. How can a dosha become bhoga? They say, how can a dosha become bhogya? How can a folly become enjoyable? Now suppose a boy is there. If that boy, he will drink and come home. You may pardon him and you may not, you may overlook his drinking. But can you say what you have done is very good, I'll welcome you to the house.
So they say they say God tolerates our sins.
Yeah.
But he doesn't actually enjoy it.
You tolerate and overlook it, that's all. Whereas the Tenacharya Sampradaya says it is dosha is also bhogya. It is very much desirable. But that is where you have to draw the line. So when it is a devotee who has done it, that is why Apichet, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Apichet sudurachara bhajate mam ananya bhakti sadhureva samanti. So if he is totally dedicated to me and he commits a sin, then I will consider it as enjoyment. So that is the dividing line between these two. Achet dramanujetyesha chatura chaturakshari कामवस्थां प्रपद्यन्ते जन्तवो अन्तमादृशः पुण्यां भोज विकासाय पापध्वान्तक्षयाय च श्रीमान् आविरभूत् भूमौ रामानुजदिवाकरः तृणीकृतविरिञ्चारि निरङ्कुशैभूतयः रामाञ्जपदाम्भोज समाश्रयेण शालिनः
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं दीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
ॐ नमो